You can stockpile while you homestead, but do not use your homestead as a stockpile. Hi again. I am taking a quick little break from clearing out fence line back here. So if you notice little bits of brush in my hair, pretend it's not there. With the way things are right now, I know a lot of people are considering getting into homesteading, and I think that is a fantastic idea. With that said, there are some things that I think you should know before you get started, so that way you're not wrecking your homestead before you even get started. The super short version of this video is don't do too much. I know that can seem really counterintuitive when it feels like the world is falling down and you have to do absolutely everything all by yourself. That's not the case though, and you're going to be a lot more efficient, you're going to be a lot happier, and you are going to be much more frugal. Not necessarily frugal, just wise with your money if you try to just do things slowly and intentionally, and you're coming at this with a clear mind and you're not panicking. I don't want to be vague or ambiguous about this, so let's start with really specific things like one food a day. So what I mean by this is find one food or one ingredient every single day that you either hunted, you foraged, you grew, you farmed, or you bartered with your neighbors to get that did not come from the grocery store or even the farmer's market. I think a lot of us, myself included, we want to just jump in there and we want to make every single thing we make, every ingredient to be completely from our homestead, which is not feasible at the start, and that is a really quick way to get overwhelmed and burned out, especially because when you're trying to do absolutely everything, it's very unlikely that you've had the time to research all of the little things that need to happen to make that one meal happen. So even your steak and eggs, like it's not just a matter of having steak and eggs on your plate. You need chickens, but you need a coop and you need a run. And what do you build the coop out of? And do you want a mobile coop, or do you want something that's more stationary? And do you want this breed of chicken, like the little cute Polishes that only produce like 150 eggs a year, but they're super cute? Or do you want something that's dual purpose and it's going to give you meat and the eggs? Or do you want something that just lays a whole lot of eggs? And do you want something that's got hybrid vigor, or do you want something that is traditional, like a heritage breed? So, and then when you go to your hunting, it's like, do you want to do bow and arrow? Do you want to get you a rifle? Do you want to use a shotgun? Do you want to go on public land? Do you want to approach a farmer and see if you can trade with them to get your hunting lease there? There is so much stuff that goes into just a 2-ingredient little breakfast. And it's really easy to get overwhelmed. So don't come at things thinking you have to do all of it all by yourself, because honestly, you will never ever, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, you will never get to that point. 99% of us are never going to be self-sufficient, and that is totally okay. We can aim for maybe 50 to 80% self-sufficiency, and that is fantastic. Even if you are off the grid, you are not going to be making your own solar system, your own solar panels. You're not going to be making your own wind turbines. You are not going to make your chainsaw. You are not going to make your saw blade out of raw materials. You may be able to do a lot of it, which is a good point to get to at some point, but don't think that you have to be 100%, because most people will never ever get to 100%. Most people don't even get to 20%, honestly. Something really important is please research before you homestead. If you are watching this video because you're thinking about homesteading but you're not there yet, I know you feel like just watching these videos or reading the books or reading the articles or scrolling through Pinterest and looking at those ideas is a waste of time, but it is not. When you get to your homestead, you are going to overwhelm yourself whether you try to be intentional or not. It's just going to happen. So anything you do right now to help yourself, to prepare, to learn, to educate, to at least build up some sort of like a toolbox of things that you can reference is going to be so crazy helpful later on. That is like the biggest gift, the biggest gift that you can give to future you is researching right now, figuring things out right now before the pressure's on you. That is really, really important. I know you feel like you're standing still and you're not getting anything done, but you are getting a lot done and you are doing a huge service to future you. Now, when you do get your homestead, don't save things for later. And what I mean by that is don't buy a trio of breeding rabbits and then put them in a cage and keep them in their separate cages for years to come and not breed them and not raise the babies. Don't buy rabbits because you want meat rabbits in case there's a disaster. Buy the rabbits and start breeding the rabbits and start figuring things out and work the kinks out, because you might get them and you might put them in a colony system and have them and realize that is a terrible idea and you want to start over, or you want to put them in cages, or you want to put them in cages and then you later realize that a colony is better for you. You might start out with one breed of rabbits and then decide, oh my gosh, this is not working great. I want to use a different breed of rabbits, or I want to use the same breed of rabbits, but I want to get them from a better breeder who's got better stock, who will hit, 5 pounds much faster. So do not sit on things because you want to save it for later. Homesteading is not stockpiling. You can stockpile while you homestead, but do not use your homestead as a stockpile. There's so many things that you don't know until you get started. So please don't wait for disaster to start learning these things. The same thing goes for your seeds. I'm guilty of this too. Don't just stockpile your seeds for the sake of having them. Start growing them, especially if you've got the heirloom seeds that will get better year after year in your area as they acclimate and adapt to your very specific region, your specific garden. I'm not saying this video as just a whole prepper thing, because that's not exactly what I want to do with this, but if you are concerned and you do want to take care of yourself and your family, it is not really doing you any good to stockpile these animals, to stockpile the seeds and just save them for later in case you need them. Start using them now, start growing your garden now, start raising the animals now. Even if you don't need it, there is so much you're going to learn before things get bad, hopefully. Now, to completely contradict what I just said, I realize what I'm doing here is contradictory, so I'm kind of sorry. I hope you can read between the lines and figure it out. But do things one at a time. Do not run out and go find all of the free rabbits and all of the free chickens and all of the free goats and all of the cheap cows and throw them in your pasture. That is not a good idea. When we came out here, we started with, first we sat here for 1 year and we did not have animals. We just wanted to figure out the lay of the land, figure out how much snow we were going to get, which is a lot, it's 3 feet, 4 feet. Figure out how much snow we're going to get, figure out where the sun is, where a good place is to put animals, where our water is, where water tends to stand, where it's really dry. That helped us a lot. So if you have the luxury of just sitting on your land for a year and kind of figuring things out before you get started, please do. When you do get animals, start with one animal each year, maybe 2 a year if you're really, really on it, but probably one animal a year is good. Now I don't mean one goat. I mean, you can start with goats this year, and then next year you can get chickens. Or you can start with chickens, and then next year you get rabbits. Do not run out there and just get all of the animals all at once, because it is going to overwhelm you so fast. I was a little 10-year 4-H kid. I showed the rabbits and the chickens and the goats, and I think I had guineas, and I showed my horses. And I grew up on a farm. My grandparents, they had pigs as well. I didn't show pigs and I didn't show cattle, but they had pigs and beef cattle. So I did have a nice background on that, and still, I started out with the chickens and the goats on year 2. And like I said, I already knew a lot about them, and I learned so much more getting back into them as an adult. I'm not saying this against your parents or against the people in your life who you love, but even if you are from an ag background and you want to get into homesteading, try to look at things from a completely new angle. You just don't know what you haven't been exposed to. So there's just a lot of little things that I wanted to change, a lot of animal husbandry practices that I wanted to change when I got out here. And because of that, I think my animals are way, way happier now than when I was a stupid little teenage kid, and especially when I was in elementary school. I think I'm treating my animals way better now because I've learned a lot more about their nutrition, their behaviors, how they would naturally act without human intervention. And going off of that has made better animals, it's made happier animals, and because of that, they are way more productive, and taking care of them is a joy. That same principle can apply to a lot of the other aspects of homesteading. So for example, I am originally from the Midwest. When I moved to Montana, I did not know anything about foraging out here. There's completely different trees, completely different shrubs and berries and mushrooms. So what I did was I just learned one little thing each season. In the springtime, I learned about different flowers that were coming up, like the common woods rose that we have here that we don't really have in Indiana. In the fall, I learned about shaggy mane mushrooms, and then I slowly learned about each of the different boletes that are out here. There's different kinds. And I didn't try to learn all of them all at once because that's quite frankly kind of dangerous. So I just picked one thing at a time, and I got really good at it. And I went through, and when I picked these mushrooms, I would take pictures of them, and I would look at different IDs online, and I would look at different lookalikes that there could be for these mushrooms. So that way I made very certain that I was not getting something that wasn't what I thought it was. Just being really clear on what I had foraged and making darn sure that it was exactly what I thought it was, so I wasn't putting me or my family at risk. I also did that with the trees, because the trees out here are completely different than what I'd grown up with in Indiana. It looks like we have a bunch of pine trees, but truly we only have like 3-ish true pines right here on our 20 acres, which are very heavily wooded. So we have a lot of western red cedar, Douglas fir, larch, what else is there? There's spruces. So I just picked one thing at a time and I learned them very well. And I didn't even bother trying to figure out what the other trees were until I got that one down perfectly. I think I started with western red cedar, and then I moved on to the larch, or also known as tamarack. And then I started figuring out the different kinds of spruces. And then the year after that, I started working on the different kinds of fir trees. It does not need to happen all at once. And now I can just go out and I can look at trees. I can look at the tops of them to figure out what they are, or I can even look at the bark. I'm getting to the point now I can look in our split firewood and I can figure out what it is just looking at the inside of the tree. So these things don't have to happen immediately. It's a slow process, and the slower and more intentional you are with it, the better off you will be. Oh yeah, I completely forgot this with the animals. When you are getting your one type of animal per year, make sure you're doing very good research on the breeds before you pick what your breed is that you're going to get into. And if you do it online, that's a great start. But if you can, talk to local people, because if you look online for chickens, they're going to tell you to get something with feathered feet for a cold area to keep their feet warm. Well, guess what? If you have a lot of snow like we do, those chickens are going to walk through the snow with their feathered feet, and then when they come in their coop and they kind of warm back up, all of that snow, it's just going to kind of clump up and turn into icicles on their legs. So while it might keep them warm in a cold area that doesn't have snow, it is going to kind of do the opposite in an area that is cold and does have snow, because that water is just going to freeze to their legs, and then you've got a whole other problem. And then you're out in your chicken coop with a hairdryer trying to warm your chickens back up and melt that ice ball off. It's not worth it. Other examples of this include, like, if you've got chickens with long legs, their legs are kind of how they vent out the heat. So long legs are great for warm areas, where shorter legs are great for cooler areas. If they have the single comb that's like this, where it's just that straight row, that is really good for, again, losing heat. So if you're in a hot area, you want that single comb so that way they can lose the heat. And if you're in a cold area, you want the pea or the rose comb that's kind of like the flatter, it looks like a little fist on their head instead of the straight comb. That will keep them warmer. So, and if they have the really tall comb in the cold, it's much more likely to frostbite and then fall off. It's also worth looking at the things that you want out of your animals and going by their breeds based on that. Try to not go off of looks. Go off of what the breed is intended for, what they've been bred for, and what they are best suited for and what they're going to be happiest with. So if you want to have both meat and eggs, you would get a dual purpose chicken. If you want a chicken that just grows really, really fast and produces a lot of meat, you might go with something that has hybrid vigor, or just hybrid vigor. It would be a crossbreed chicken, something that you would get from a hatchery. If you just want something in your yard to pick at the different insects you have, and you don't really care about eggs and you don't really care about meat, you could get something cute like a Polish or a Silky. Different breeds of cattle are better suited to meat versus milk. There's also different breeds that will handle cold better than the heat, so you might be able to find something really specific, like you're in a hot area and you want milk, so you can find a breed that tolerates heat well and produces a lot of milk. Or you could be, looking for something beefy that handles the cold very well. There are different animals that will accommodate your specific living situation. So make sure you're looking at that before you dive in and you just get a whole bunch of that breed. It's going to save you a ton of time and a ton of money, and it's probably going to keep you from getting burned out and just quitting within a couple years. Because I think most people who quit, they get started because they're really excited and they want to do everything, and then they don't have the help that they need and they don't have the guidance they need, and they just get in over their heads, and it's just not feasible at that point. So avoid that. Do at least a couple weeks worth of research. And I know that sounds like a lot, but just an hour in the evening before you go to bed, just do a little bit of reading. It'll save you a lot, and it'll make you happier, and it'll really make your animals a lot happier, since you can be more competent for them. When you're in your research phase, take the time to really look into medical care for your animals too. Obviously, if there's an injury or an illness, it's nice to know about that too. But look at the preventative things that you can do. Learn how their digestive system works. Learn how they act in the wild. Learn how they would take care of themselves if people did not intervene. And then go from there. That will make a huge difference. If you are doing a good job with their nutrition and you are keeping a clean, safe place for them to live, both in their barn or their enclosure or their cage and their run or their paddock, that makes a big difference. Not having enough ventilation for them, not having a dry, warm place for them to go hide when things get bad for them. Just, in short, prevention over cures. Now, if you are new to agriculture, if you are new to homesteading, your knee-jerk reaction when something happens is to go to the vet. I 100% support that. With that said, not always an option. The reason I say that is not always an option is because a lot of veterinarians do not have the time, they do not have the resources, they are not taking on clients at all. This is especially true with your rabbits and your chickens and your quail and your ducks. They are not going to deal with those smaller animals, and as a 4-H kid who raised and showed goats, I can tell you that they are really not that interested in working on goats either. They either aren't interested or they just flat out refuse. They will not, you cannot get them to come out to your farm to work on your goats. That's fine, but it just means that you need to be that much more competent and that much more confident in your ability to take care of them. You don't need to know everything yourself, but it does help if you have maybe a Facebook group you can lean on, if you have someone local in your area. If someone local in your area should always be the priority over a Facebook group. But if you have someone local in your area who can help you out and guide you through things when you're having a really dang bad night, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. Make sure you have someone in your corner who will help you. That is going to do a lot to take care of you and your animals. Don't rely on the vet for everything. I have absolutely nothing against vets, but it's not always possible to get their help. Even though we really want them and we really need them, they're underpaid, they're overworked. I can say that as someone who worked for a vet and was in vet school for a while. I dropped out for obvious reasons. Like, it is a lot of work and they are not paid well enough for the work that they do. So do as much on your own, learn as much as you can. Be open-minded when other people come in and they try to gently criticize or correct the way that you're doing things with your animals, or if they have solutions and they've been doing it longer than you have, listen to them and just do your best to do right by your animals. Community ends up being a really big part of homesteading, whether you're planning on that or not, especially if you're moving from suburbia or the city and you come out to a rural area. I don't think a lot of people realize just how connected and just how united the rural communities are until they get to be part of one. They're gonna seem scratchy on the outside, they're gonna seem a little bit rough at first, and you're not gonna be so sure about them, but once you start making acquaintances with your neighbors and you start figuring each other out, you are going to be very tight-knit, and it is amazing to watch and really special to be a part of. If you, for some reason, do not find community where you just moved to, it is completely fine to find that online. I know I kind of can pass in most crowds, no matter what the political affiliation. I know a lot of people cannot do that. It's not safe for them to do that. So if it's not really safe, if it's not really an option for you to be part of your physical close community, find one online. That is valid too. That is completely fine, completely justified, and that will serve you well. Just find people like you who are like-minded, who are in your corner and they care about you and they care about your animals and your goals and will help you out when things get rough. I think this one is really important because if you're taking the time to watch this video, you are someone who is doing a lot of research, you're probably watching a lot of other people's videos too. Do not pay attention to the other YouTubers, myself included too. Don't take what we're doing and set that as your gold standard or what you need to be doing, because now I do not, okay? I'm a hot mess and I'm really honest about that on the channel. But seriously, don't look at us and put us on some kind of a pedestal because a lot of YouTubers, they either have a whole army of children who are helping them out. I have 2 little kids, they're 4 and 6, so they're getting to the age where they're starting to be helpful, but they're not super helpful yet. But a lot of people who have these really big successful YouTube channels, they have a lot of kids and they're teenagers, so they've just got this whole team of people running around with them, getting things done. They're just insanely, so impressively productive with how they do things. Don't feel like that's the standard, because if you don't have a big family, it's not going to be possible for you. The other thing is, even if they don't have a big family, They might have people that they have hired to help them work behind the scenes. If they are really established as a YouTuber and they have income coming in from the channel, it's very profitable. Whatever they put into their homestead and their channel is going to be rewarded, at least with the views, probably more so with their sponsorships. So don't look at them as if they're doing everything all by themselves, because they may not. They might have a quiet team of people who are coming in and helping them, who are helping them do the chores, who are helping them with the garden, who are planting all those fruit trees, who are harvesting all of the things that you see on their big homestead. So it may not just be them doing it. There might be a whole team of people you don't know about who are getting it done, okay? So don't compare yourself to them, especially if you don't know what their situation is like. Similar to that, if you have little kids that you are taking care of, if you have elderly neighbors or parents that you are taking care of, grandparents, you've got someone in your family who is disabled or you're disabled, don't compare yourself to able-bodied, single, child-free people who are doing this all on their own, because there's a big difference between the cards you've been dealt and the cards that they've been dealt. Don't compare yourself to them for that. In addition to that, I'm just going to keep adding to it. If you have little kids, prioritize those little kids over the homestead. I know that can be hard because you live on your homestead. That is your home. That is where you spend most of your time, especially if you are homeschooling or you work from home like I do. Then it's really easy to compare yourself and say you are not getting enough done, because you're always looking at all the things around you that you want to get done. You're looking at that empty spot thinking, I need a barn there. You're looking over at those trees thinking, I should have a fence over there. You know, it's easy to do. I do it too, all the time. I'm not exempt from this at all. But make sure that you are really prioritizing your kids, because it's not just the homestead. This is their childhood. So I've talked about this with my greenhouse. Like, our greenhouse is taking us a long time, because a lot of times we'll start on the greenhouse and then we will see something fun that we can go do with our kids, and we'll just run off and go do the fun thing with our kids. We'll take them to the river, we'll take them to a festival, we'll go kayaking, we'll go hiking, we'll do all kinds of fun things with our kids, because they're at the most fun age ever. So we want to go take advantage of that and go have fun with them and make sure that they're having a good childhood. So don't be afraid to let your homestead suffer a little bit when you've got little kids who rely on you and are looking to you for everything, because they are way more important than the land and the homestead, than all the things. They are the priority. Stockpiling is really going to be your friend when you get started. Now, I know I said this isn't like a huge prepper or stockpiling thing, but for the things that you can't do yourself, like, we don't live near the coast, we're not very close to Utah. I'm not going to go out and forage for my salt. I'm going to buy my salt in bulk and I'm going to keep it. I can't grow rice well here, so I'm going to buy a lot of rice at the grocery store and I'm going to keep it. Now, when I do this, I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to buy four 100-pound or 4 50-pound bags of rice all at once. I'm going to buy just, maybe 1 or 2 10-pound bags at a time, so that way I'm not wiping out the store. You never want to leave the shelves bare for someone else. Do it mindfully, do it reasonably. Don't panic buy. Whatever you do, never panic buy. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Don't do that. But just a little bit at a time, very intentional. Buy what you're going to use. If you can grow it yourself, grow it yourself. If you can't grow it yourself, make it a priority to make that part of your stockpile. A lot of times these stockpiles are not for the end of the world. 99.99% of the time, this is not for the end of the world. It's not for the apocalypse. It is for when you lose your job, when you are sick, when you've got a bad 2 weeks, when something catastrophic goes wrong with your vehicle and you need to put a lot of money into it all at once, and then you suddenly don't have as much for your groceries. That is what your stockpiles are for. It is not for the end of the world. It is for when normal life happens on a terrible Tuesday. This also expands into your livestock. So if you can grow hay, grow hay. If you can't grow hay, buy a round bale at a time. Buy 2 round bales at a time. If you can buy a year's worth of hay in the summertime, do that. It's going to make you feel much more secure in what you are doing, and it's going to let you take your mind off of that thing and put it onto something that you can control. So if you can, get more hay, get more hay. If you can buy your feed in totes, meaning like 1 ton at a time or 1 pickup truck at a time, and put it in a silo or put it in a hopper, do that. That's going to help you a lot. not just with taking care of your family, but also taking care of your mind and feeling like you're making progress in sustainable, substantial ways. Keep your chores under 45 minutes. You can spend 45 minutes in the morning feeding and 45 minutes in the evening. If you have to spend 46 minutes, though, it's time for you to make some evaluations and do some changes around your place, because once you exceed that, things get really hard. I'm not talking about farmers. If you are feeding half the county with your beef, I'm not talking to you because I know you've got things different, but half the time you can get it down under 45 minutes too. What I mean by that is if it is taking you more than 45 minutes to feed, maybe it's time to introduce an automatic feeder, so that way only 1 or 2 days a week you're going out and refilling that automatic feeder. Maybe it means putting out round bales and putting on a creep feeder net, so that way your animals aren't eating too much off that round bale, but they have access to it all the time and you're not forking out hay every day. Automatic waterers, hiring help if that is an option for you. That's more for the farmers who are like actual producers, but do what you have to do to keep it under 45 minutes. If you're watering your garden for 2 hours a day, it's time to get sprinklers. It's time to get drip irrigation. It may not seem like that much at first, and at first you may not be able to honestly afford these things, the infrastructure to get it down under that 45 minutes, but as soon as you can, make the investment so that way you're not burning out later on. This is really important. We're talking about you, we're talking about your family, we're talking about your land here. It is worth the investment to keep you sane and to take good care of you and your place. The difference between a homesteader and a farmer is that a homesteader is taking care of themselves to be more self-sufficient, while a farmer earns more than $1,000 in a year. This doesn't have to be profit, but they generate an income of $1,000 per year through their agricultural pursuits. While you can absolutely move into being a farmer or a rancher later on, you need to start out focused fully on being a homesteader. Do not worry about making a profit. You can run your place like a business. I really encourage it, actually. Try to make each of your animals pay for themselves, or at least pay their own way if you can, but do not come into this trying to make a profit right off the bat, especially if you are new to animals. You do not want to buy 100 chickens and try to have a whole chicken farm when you've never kept chickens before. You do not want to start out with 5 acres and try and take care of all 5 acres with this gigantic market garden. Start out with a little garden for you and your family. Once you've got that down, you can move on to the big market garden, but don't start out with this huge endeavors, these huge ambitions. You can have huge ambitions. Okay, actually, I take that back. You can have big ambitions. You can have big goals. Don't act on them right away. Just because you have 5 acres to till up doesn't mean you should till up all 5 acres. And just because you have the space for 50 cows does not mean that you need 50 cows. Start with what you need right away and just take care of you and your family at first. Don't worry about a profit. Don't worry about becoming the biggest farmer in your area. I mean, just get the basics down. I know it's frustrating, but get the basics down first and then move on to that if that's what your heart really desires. This is really simple, basic advice, but you would be surprised how many people this misses. Start out with what you are already using, what your family already needs, and don't grow something or raise something just because you can. Raise it or grow it because you need it. So if your family is going through 150 cans of green beans a year, focus on green beans in your garden. If your family goes through 1 chicken a week, focus on raising maybe 50 meat birds for the year. If your family is really big on mushrooms, go out and try to forage a year's worth of mushrooms this fall. Don't go out and buy turkeys to raise if you don't like eating turkey. Don't raise a bunch of chickens if you don't like eating eggs. Don't raise meat goats if you don't like goat meat. Same thing goes for goat milk. Get things that you are already interested in, that you're already using, and work off of that. Again, I feel silly saying this, but you would be surprised how many people get something just because they can and they don't really have any direction or any real goals with that. It's okay to not do everything. You shouldn't really do everything. When you can, get really specific, get one thing down really darn well before you move on to another. And it's okay if you never want to expand beyond that. If you just want to be the lady who raises milk goats, and you've got the dairy goats and you've got the best milk in the county, just be the lady who's got the very best goat milk in the county. And then you can trade with someone else who's got bees, who, if you're afraid of bees and you're afraid of being stung, go trade some goat milk for the honey. You don't have to do it all yourself. You can go trade within your community. That's way better than trying to doing a terrible job all by yourself. You don't have to have eggs. If you just like your beef cattle and you don't want to deal with a bunch of little chickens running around tearing up your garden, you don't have to. You can trade some beef for some eggs. If you don't have land at all and you really want to get into homesteading, you can trade your forageables for more homesteady agricultural things. You can trade, in our area, it's huckleberries. You could trade one little Ziploc bag, a gallon Ziploc bag of huckleberries for probably like 10 pounds of rabbit meat or chicken meat, because the huckleberries are like $125 a gallon out here. Find your thing, get good at it, and make that your thing, and then trade where you need to, and when you're ready to move on, you can, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. You never have to sell things. You don't need to be profitable. It's nice if your animals and your gardens will pay for themselves. Usually they will. Once you've got things locked in, they will pay for themselves. They don't have to right away. I do not want to see you fail on your homestead. I wish you the very best, and I'm rooting for you. If you've watched this long, always check out the comments. There's amazing people who always leave amazing tidbits of information down there. They usually teach me something as well. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and I will talk at you again next Monday. Bye!